On August 19, 1991, 8 men tried to save the Soviet Union and accidentally destroyed it. You wake up that morning to the sound of tanks rolling through Moscow. Swan Lake is playing on every television channel. A group of hardline Soviet officials has placed Mikhail Gorbachev under house arrest in Crimea. They call themselves the State Emergency Committee. They believe they are saving their country. But then something unexpected happens. A man climbs onto a tank. Boris Yeltsin, the elected president of Russia, stands on an armored vehicle outside the Russian parliament building and reads a declaration calling the coup illegal. Soldiers refuse their orders. The coup collapses in 72 hours. Within 4 months, the Soviet Union is gone. Now ask yourself, what if Yeltsin never climbed that tank? What if the soldiers had followed their orders? What if the hardliners had held? The coup succeeds. Gorbachev is removed. The emergency committee takes control of a nuclear-armed state spanning 11 time zones. And the world you know today simply does not exist. There is no immediate collapse. The USSR doesn't vanish. Instead, it tightens. The reformers are arrested. The brief window of openness slams shut. The Soviet military remains intact. The Warsaw Pact, already fracturing, is held together by force. NATO never expands eastward. Poland, Hungary, the Czech Republic, they remain inside the Soviet orbit. The Baltic states, which had just declared independence, are brought back under Moscow's control. The reunification of Germany is frozen in diplomatic crisis. And here is where it gets strange. Without a collapsing Soviet Union to manage, a mid-level KGB officer named Vladimir Putin never rises through the chaos of 1990s Russia. There is no oligarch privatization, no wild decade of looting, no vacuum of power for a security apparatus man to fill. Putin, in this timeline, remains exactly what he was, a nobody. Meanwhile, the United States never gets its unipolar moment. There is no end of history. Francis Fukuyama never writes that essay. Instead, American foreign policy stays locked in Cold War logic, because the Cold War simply continues, which means the war on terror probably doesn't happen the way you know it either. Al-Qaeda grew partly in the vacuum left by the Soviet withdrawal from Afghanistan. But in a world where the USSR survives, that withdrawal never happens, or happens differently. The regional power structures in the Middle East are altered. The chain of events that led to September 11th has a different shape. The world diverges further with every year. By 2001, you have 2 superpowers still locked in ideological competition, a Europe that never unified the way it did, and a China that spent the 1990s navigating a very different global order, one that didn't reward it with the trade relationships that built its modern economy. By 2010, the Soviet Union is still there, creaking, authoritarian, economically strained, but intact. Its citizens never experienced the chaos of transition. They also never experienced freedom. And by 2026, the world map looks nothing like the one you grew up with. The 1991 coup lasted 72 hours. It failed because one man stood on a tank and soldiers chose not to shoot. The 8 men who launched it believed they were preventing the end of everything they had built. They were right about what was coming. They were wrong that they could stop it. On August 19th, 1991, 8 men tried to save the Soviet Union, and the man who stopped them changed every border, every alliance, and every war that followed, including the ones happening right now.